running out of time. It is true that for many, time seems to speed up as we age. However, just because it works like that doesn't mean it has to, and there are a few strategies that can help you get your life back. I've recently read Time Warped by Claudia Hammond, which, by the way, I recommend to anyone with time anxiety, and I will be referring to this book and my personal observations to talk about how we can slow down time. In order to do so, we first need to understand what affects our perception of time, and the first thing is emotion. Especially anxiety, or even more so dread, is known for creating this illusion of an expanded timeline. You must have noticed it yourself. When you're anxious or anticipating some news, time seems to slow down. There are even a few scientific experiments that were conducted to prove this theory that people in incredibly stressful environments perceive time as expanding. David Eagleman, a neuroscientist from Stanford University, conducted an experiment where 23 volunteers alongside himself were thrown off of a 150 feet high tower backward. There were, of course, necessary precautions taken into account. The experiment was safe, there were no accidents, as a net below caught them at the right moment. However, that didn't make the experiment any less frightening. Additionally, the team engineered a device with two alternating screens that would be strapped to participants' forearms like wristwatches. The twist here was that the screens flicked so fast that the images, or more like the numbers in that case, looked like a constant blur. What David Edelman found out was that, yes, when free-falling, people reported perceiving time as expanding, but the numbers still look like a blur. The reason for such time warping is that our mind is used to a certain quantity of memories fitting into a single time frame. When we are fighting for survival or doing whatever feels like it, our mind becomes hyper-aware of the environment in hopes of saving itself. Hence, more memories are being created in a single time frame, which creates this illusion of time slowing down. The next thing that plays with our time perception is attention, or attention to the passage of time specifically. This is why when you're engaged in an activity you like, time flies by. But should you spend the same amount of time waiting for a plane, boredom will make it stretch. The difference between the two is how conscious you are of the passage of time. The more attention you put on it, the longer it seems to take. If you've ever tried meditating or standing in a plank, then you must know that even a minute can stretch out indefinitely. Now, emotion and attention influence our time perception in real time, no pun intended. However, when we talk about time speeding up, there is a third component at play, and it has more to do with our memory. It's this feeling that certain events took place more recently than they actually did. When we look back at the event that happened 10 years ago, but it feels as if it happened yesterday, this freshness of memories creates this illusion of time speeding up. Claudia Hammond talks about forward and reverse telescoping, which refers to us attributing events occurring either later or earlier than they actually did. Apparently, for recent events, we believe they happened further in the past. When you think of the past months, many events are still fresh in your memory. You have more of these so-called flashcards stored in your mind. And as we already know, this abundance of memories creates the illusion of an expanded timeline, which makes us attribute an earlier date to recent events. The picture is reversed with much older events. Our memories tend to fade away with time, leaving fewer flashcards to draw upon. Additionally, the mere fact of you remembering a certain event misleads you into thinking it occurred more recently than it actually did. Finally, surprisingly or not, but our life tempo also plays a role in our time perception. Many adults, regardless of their age, think time moves faster now than it did a decade or a few decades ago. So, what's the way forward? First of all, I think we can try to address the fact that what we feel as time passing by is actually a faster life tempo. Sure, time seems to speed up for adults, but this perception has been magnified by the general busyness of the entire world in the last 2 decades. This is the most straightforward path, but it's also the hardest one, because the answer here is to slow down, or in other words, to do less. Take on less projects. In fact, give up some projects. Give up some goals. Spend less time on working or cleaning. Here's the trick. Something will have to go. Some sacrifices will have to be made. As they say, you can have everything, but not everything at the same time. So you will have to choose whether you want to have more achievements in your life or more life in your life. And of course, it's also possible to find balance between the two, but even in this case, some sacrifices will still have to be made. The next idea is to add novelty to your routine. Since we judge the passage of time by the number of memories we have of the past, the best way to expand time is by creating new memories. Try something new, learn a new skill, try a new hobby, take a different route when going to work, or even listen to new music. The variety will slow time down. Next on our list is awareness. I think all 3 elements we just discussed relied on the same idea of how much we notice as we go through life. Anxiety makes us hyper-aware of the environment as we fight for survival. Attention is just a different name for awareness, and regarding our autobiographical memory, I think the more we pay attention to our lives, the more of these mental flashcards we create. Here you can try different awareness exercises. A typical awareness meditation is quite good because it draws your attention to the immediate environment and the passage of time. But so is a mindfulness exercise when you're present and you just pay attention to whatever is going on right now. If these are hard for you, go through your 5 senses and list all the sensations you're experiencing in the moment. What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you taste? What do you see? And what do you feel in your body? Finally, what you can also consider is that often when we say we don't have time, what we really mean is that we don't have time for ourselves. So even if you are not into the idea of slowing down, I would still recommend you to secure at least 1 day per month when you do whatever you feel like doing in the moment. No plans, no schedule, just freestyling. And this is it. I hope you found this video useful. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and as always, I wish you a great day and I will see you next time. Bye bye.